Next up, I think we were going to jump right into your presentation, Mary, if you're ready.
Sure. We'll start with the video. If you don't mind. Lynette made this video, and before we started, I lied. So the Okari Children's Foundation is a school for children that are under that are mostly orphaned from AIDS, and they apply to the school, and it's a boarding school. So the children in most cases have families, extended families. So on holidays and during the summer, they will go to their extended families. But it's a boarding school where they live on site the rest of the time. So this is a little bit of background. We'll look at. I just wanted to introduce what we were looking at. So this is in Africa.
I'm very passionate about education, and I know the power of education. 5 acres of land has been donated to us, and so when I wrote a proposal, 2009, the school was started. This is our 14th year. We have a student population right now of 230 students from kindergarten up to 8th grade. The majority of them are HIV/AIDS orphans. Starting from 2017, our school started ranking very, very high. It was ranking #1 in a sub-county of 192 schools. We have 76 students in different universities. Most schools charge tuition. School does not. Tuition would be $500 a year. If we had the resources, we would take more kids, but we don't have the financial resources to build more classrooms and have more facilities like dormitories. There's a saying that the late President Nelson Mandela said, the best weapon in the world is education, because it can change people's lives, can also change the world.
Thank you.
It's a lovely setting.
Isn't it gorgeous?
I was very passionate about education, and I knew.
And that land was donated to the school, and then they built the dormitories and the kitchen and the facilities.
Donated by the country or the state?
Yeah. She and her family were pretty well connected. She was very lucky. She was raised in Kenya, and she was very lucky that her father believed in educating his daughters as well as his sons. So she was educated and became a businesswoman here in the United States. And then because of her dealings with Africa, when a family lost the parents, they turned to her and said, please, Kumbuka, can you help us with our niece, nephew, right? And so then she was, when I knew her, she was paying for the children to go to boarding schools like the one she has. And she had, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 kids that she was physically paying that $500 a year. And then she realized that this was really a calling, and then she kind of jumped into it. And she got the land donated, she got her 501c, she just got it going. And then I helped her sell her house, and then she invested all that.
Oh, okay.
And she's been there over 10 years on site. In Kenya, and she lives very close to the school, very close, in a very, very, very rural area. Absolutely amazing woman. The school is, I can't even describe how phenomenal it is, because if you caught it, they're the top school out of 200 schools, and this is a school running on shoestrings in comparison to completely funded rich families, you know, and they have the top scores and the top everything. And They not only provide food and clothing and lodging, they also make sure that they have, physical things. They have music, they have soccer, they have, some physical activities that are also fun for the kids to enjoy. And they keep their lives really rich. If you go on the website, yeah. If you go on the website, you can read some of the stories. There's letters from from some of the students saying what it meant. And one of their missions, and I do recommend you guys go to the website and check it out. One of their missions is not only to take these children from complete poverty with no hope of even survival, because they have nobody to care for them. Their caregivers or their extended family can't provide for their own family. And then they have the burden of their sister's kids or something like that, which is how Kumbuka ends up with all these children. So she said that she has 230 kids in the school that goes through 8th grade, but she also is committed to them in their education. So once they leave her school in 8th grade, she pays whatever needs to be paid for them to continue as long as they can. So they have to pass a test in 8th grade or they cannot continue school. That's the way the country runs. And all of her kids pass the exams, do very well and move on. So they have all sorts of success stories, people that are gone from the school and are out in university becoming nurses and doctors. But one of their big beliefs is that not only will you go and be a success and change your life, change our country's future, but you'll give back in service to others. And that is taught to them on a daily basis in the community, that much is being given to you and we will expect much from you in the future. And they all have that creed, and that's really their mission and their goal is to not only be successful for themselves, but so successful that they can turn around and give back. And that is built into their website and built into their hearts and souls. It's a huge thing that Kumbuka believes in. And it's all out of passion and love. They all call her Auntie. And it's a really family environment. And it's quite amazing. I think there's about 10 students that do not go home. They're complete wards of the school. And then, like I said, they support the kids as they go into the other schools that could cost money. They absolutely work get this scholarship, get that to make that successful so that it's not a big burden. The other thing they mentioned is that to take a student for an entire year is only $500. And that pays for all the food, all the lodging, the teaching, the education, the books, everything, which is quite remarkable because I don't think we can raise the kid for $500 a month. So and then what they're doing is so life-changing. So recently, I helped fund, or I funded and to enclose the school. Kumbuka had called me, she was just distressed and said, the 5 acres, there's so many, they brought water to the town and then that made the town grow. Now they have a school that didn't have a fence around it. And that posed a whole bunch of problems. There was staff, they have kids as young as 3 years old. They could wander off. They don't have a lot of staff. And so it was just a huge issue. There was safety issues. People were stealing their produce, their laundry, all sorts of things. So we put a cyclone fence around the entire structure. There's a gate, a car gate at one end, and then a big, huge, gorgeous brick wall and big grand entrance doors in the front. It's really amazing. It's done. She texted me the other day and she just says, Mary, I feel like you are just holding us and hugging us because we're all safe and we're all our lives. She goes, you can't even believe the change that freedom of it being able to explore that whole property is for the school and the kids. Because before wild animals, this and that, they can't have the kids out and about without somebody there monitoring them, but they're so, they run on such a tight ship. They don't have that many people. It's not like they have yard duties out there watching the kids. So now they have this huge expansive space and they can expand their gardens and they can, I mean, just so many things. So that was amazing. So I have been involved in the school always, because even before she, when she was groundbreaking and getting the property and all that kind of stuff, helped with desks and bunk beds and all sorts of things. I know a lot about the school, so if you guys have any questions, or it's just a big passion of mine. Thank you so much for letting me tell you about these guys. If you ever want to go to Africa and visit the school, they have guest quarters. They're meager, but they're guest quarters. So if you wanted to stay there and experience, they also have programs. If you knew somebody who wanted to go teach, teach in that, they're like, yeah, volunteers, we will take them. We will take anybody who wants to come and help. So their doors are open. Yeah.
Is the lady from Kenya, you said?
Huh?
Where is she from?
She's from Kenya. Yes. That was, she
How
was
did she
right.
raise the money to go do all this? She sold her house or what?
How she got involved, what she was doing here when I met her was import export, and she was taking the soapstone carvings from these tiny little towns and bringing them to the United States and selling them. And then she was bringing back the funds, and she was supporting these towns by taking their, their art and bringing it and selling it. And that's why she had that reputation of, well, you take care of us, right? And then the first child was given her to, she was driving down the street and a woman was giving birth in the bushes and she helped her. And then that child was named after her. But then, 5 years later, both the parents had passed. So her namesake became her child. They gifted her. And then so now she's got a child. So then she put that child in boarding school. And then once she got so many children that they kept gifting her, she said, well, I have to continue to do this. How am I going to continue to do this? At the same time, unfortunately, because AIDS is just such a huge problem, that the parents aren't living long enough to teach their children the artistic skills of the soap carving. So that artistry, that whole thing is going away because there isn't anybody to teach the children because of the early deaths of particularly the men. And that comes from a whole bunch of different reasons why AIDS is so prominent, but that's what happened. Now, she did sell her house in Elk Grove and invest that all, but how she did it was just something like this in front of people and talking and spreading the word and going to her church and spreading the word and getting passionate people involved. And she can just make things happen. It's just amazing. And they do things just in a very logical way. They have chickens and, oh yeah, the chickens are great because that's fertilizer for this. And we got the eggs and the chickens are the best. And then I'm talking to her, how the chickens? Oh, well, the feed got too expensive. So they were good. She was, Mary, we are, and she's got such a beautiful attitude. Yeah. And then for instance, they planted trees around the property and the plan, and it is working, the trees grow really fast. So they kind of worked as a barrier to the property, but then they could cut them down and they would regrow. And then by the time they circled back around, they were growing again. So they're cutting their wood from their own 5 acres. And so things are happening. I mean, they would like to get, solar so that they do have some electricity, but it's not consistent. They could go weeks without. They would really like, modern age. These kids are doing these scores with no electronics, all hand, everything pen and pencil, everything is actual live books. They don't get exposed to any technology at this school, other than Kumbuka's cell phone, which is super cute when I've done FaceTime with them. the kids are just super excited because they're on TV and it's just super, super cute.
So to get more information, it's Margaret Okari Children's Foundation, so
Yeah.
MOCF
Yeah,
school.org.
yeah. So if you guys are moved to what I would to donate and help the school, all the money goes to the children. This is run like Rotary. What they bring in goes to the school, goes to the children. They have a meager staff that they pay next to nothing, and they bring in even teachers on a volunteer basis. So everything goes to the children. I would really like it if you could do a monthly donation that you could afford, because then they can use that to budget and they could say, hey, we have these monthly donations. That means we can bring on 5 more kids. But if they get one donation and it's a one and done, then they can't really budget and say, hey, we can bring in 5 more kids. They have a waiting list that, did she share with you what the current waiting list is?
I don't think she did.
Yeah, it's hundreds waiting or wanting to get in. So these guys got the golden ticket getting into this school. And they will all have phenomenal lives, whatever life they choose to have.
I take it there's no government schools.
There are, but these guys are teaching, they actually have wealthy families that are coming in and saying, well, can our kids go to this school? They still have not done that because privilege in with it just changes the dynamic and the attitude. It does affect the success of the school. So they want to make sure that they always have the drive and the passion, and that the kids have the drive and the passion, and they don't have any apathy towards the gift that they're being given.
If they're number one out of all these schools, tell me about the teachers and how are they doing this I mean, obviously they have fabulous teachers.
Yeah.
And they're given a lot of opportunities with no technology.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to think that they go so far. And on my second question to that is, are they following these kids once they're out of school? And do they have any success stories of some of these kids since it's been 10 years? Any success story of where they're out
Yeah.
of college or anything?
Yeah, well, you can read online, like one of them I was reading today was a young girl, and she said, she was in a situation where she was just impoverished, and her mom had no way, her father passed away, mom had no way to make ends meet, and so she got an opportunity to interview to come into the school, and she was accepted, and she said that was so life-changing. I went from basically complete poverty, not knowing if I was going to have food, not knowing if I was going to have anything, and then I go and I'm fed and I'm clothed and I have a bed and I have just changed. Now it's meager. The schoolhouses are dirt floors on the first floor. I mean, it's meager.
I don't
But
even
it's the
think,
dedication, and every kid is just so dedicated to their work and their school. When they're off their reading, it's competitive, but then it's also fun, like that's their passion. Like Lukumbuka, we were talking about sending a crate for stuff, and she goes, well, Mary, make sure they don't put things like dolls. The kids won't know what to do with a doll. It's not essential. It doesn't make any sense. Sports equipment, that would make sense, but they don't have frivolity in their lives at all. They have their uniform and they have usually 1, maybe 2 outfits, other than like each of them have about 3. I know that Kumbuka buys the shoes and stuff, that's all secondhand and so on and forth. So it's always a budget.
She made it sound like the classrooms didn't even really have walls.
Yeah, water can get in. Yeah.
And they're roofs.
Yeah.
Roofs.
Well,
but-
yeah, it's like kind of like a sheet metal
Yeah.
corrugated kind
Yeah,
of, I mean, our homeless shelters that these people are putting together are pretty much better condition. And like I said, there's no power. They have outhouses. All the children's hair are short because of the water issues and cleanliness, and they don't want to get lice and things like that. And it's just a very They go to bed early, they get up early and they work hard. They all participate in all sorts of different things.
They have cows and
They
animals
go
that-
through, yeah, they go through sometimes like the chickens. It kind of what they can get, they use, and then, you know, like that. They eat a lot of beans, a lot of rice.
I suggest that you chat with Hank about the aquaculture and the aquaponics project that he did in Dominican Republic, because this sounds like the perfect setting for it. It's tilapia fish farming, and then the aquaponics is the waste from the tilapia goes down the troughs and it fertilizes, and they grow lettuce and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And that's what he did. He had 3 that he set up at orphanages in the Dominican Republic. And it was a way to provide sustenance because it's not very often they get meat.
Right.
So this was, but it also teaches them a trade, because the way he did it there at the orphanages is, you know, they all pitched in, like the nuns helped build the place and everything. I mean, he's got pictures of nuns who really wanted to, with these big saws and stuff. They were like getting into it.
Yeah.
But even the kids got involved, and they now, when he goes to visit, for dinner, they go and they pick out a fresh tilapia and, cook it up and stuff. But it's a great program, and, he knows all the resources. He knows the guy that would go out and set it up. And, he did it through his Rotary Club. So there was a international, whatever they call it. So that kind of grant.
It was
He did do that, but I would suggest chatting with him about it.
So they have produced, people that are in medical school, teachers that have come back and taught, people that go into the community and work. They're not, their goal is to stay here in our country, change our world, and give back. So they're not trying to send them to go to America or Europe or go have a better life somewhere else.
Right.
They're like, no, we're gonna make it a better life right here. And that's really the message in what they're all passionate about, is that we want to make our country great and strong, and our children are going to do it for us.
Is English the language they learn in, or no?
Mhm.
It is.
Yeah, there's a lot of dialects, but they're all learning and speaking English, and they speak good English, and they're actually quite impressive. I did a FaceTime with some high schools, like what is it, Rotary? And that was interesting. They were wildly prepared. Our kids were not.
Oh, wow.
There was no research done on our side of the table, and they were, and they were hitting us up with questions that our kids just didn't have answers for. It was quite interesting.
So given that they're at this school because their parents have died because of AIDS and whatever, what is the health care, and are they being educated on how you get AIDS and how you avoid it, so that we don't lose a whole nother generation of educated
Yes.
young people?
So this school is right next door, right outside the gate is a clinic, medical clinic, and they do classes, and they, they try to educate the men, because that's really where the problem lies. What happens, the men go into town to sell wares or to work or whatever. While they're gone, they're with hookers, and then they bring it back to the family. So that's really how it's translated. And part of the problem is that it's a really, really hard life, and there's very little positive things that happen in a day, and it's really struggles, and sex is really fun, and you can die from AIDS because if you do this one fun thing that you get to do. And unfortunately, the drive and the age and the logic and the it won't happen to me kind of thing is still pretty prevalent. They hand out information and rubbers and all
Do they have the
sorts of
same
stuff.
access to the same medications we have here in the US, or no?
No,
they have all
not
these-
really. No.
don't.
It's just not. I mean, their circumstances are completely different than what our circumstances. I mean, they're not really drinking clear, clean water and that kind of stuff. The water is about a mile away. We a different Rotary has brought water to the town, but it's a pump, local. It's not a lot, it sustains the town, but it's not gushes of water. It does have a filter on it, that kind of
So
thing.
do
but-
they have to go out then to the town to get their water?
Well, the pump is right outside.
Oh, okay.
Kumbuka's the one who got the water, so it's right outside
Oh,
her
okay.
gate. But they still go, they have a donkey that goes every day, all day long to get, the washing and the this and the that, and the other thing. And previously, they all went before they had that water brought up. Everybody, kids, everybody, first thing you did was walk down and carry back as much water as you could. So things are looking up and things are better. And that keeps happening and keeps happening and keeps happening, so.
Any other questions before we move on? It was awesome.
thank you for sharing.
Very much, very awesome.
My family,
But I know you're talking to other clubs and stuff like that.
I'm trying, yeah.
Are you looking to do something with Rotary and Rotary in general, or some sort of grant or something?
I would love to do an educational technology grant, like some kind of library thing for them. Because they really need that, even if it was Forest Station Technology Center Library. Kumbuka and I talked about it. She really does need a library. Because she's got other people that she's working on as far as expanding the dorms and stuff. And then to bring on kids, she just needs sustainable money to bring on more kids. And that's her passion, is to serve everyone and just to make sure that they have the budget to take it to the end. Right?
Awesome.
This is great.
Yep.
Thank you.